Hi guys, welcome to my channel or welcome back. So, I've been meaning to do a stan list for a really long time, but since there are a lot of groups that I kind of semi-stan, aka there is something which prevents me from standing them completely, I decided that it would be more fun to say my favorite and least favorite things of my favorite groups, so that this stan list could be more unique in a way. I'll divide my favorite groups in Ult, Stan, Semi-Stan, and there will be also a final section where I say the groups that I am considering standing and why I have some doubts. I recommend that you watch at least the Semi-Stan section because that's where things get really interesting. Okay, let's go. It's not a secret that Blackpink are my forever ult. You can see that from the name and the photo of my channel and from the majority of my contents. They are the ones who got me into K-pop and they are true queens for me. My favorite thing about them is probably their charisma and vibe. I don't know how else to describe it honestly. They have this massive self-confidence and badass attitude which really hypes me up. Another thing that I love about them is that each member has its own strengths and uniqueness, which really compensate each other. That's why for me groups with a small number of members are the best, because each member brings something of their own to the group and everyone can showcase their abilities without being left out like with groups with many members. On to the things that I don't really like about them is for sure the small number of their discography, aka their comebacks once a year if we are lucky. Don't get me wrong, I am completely against idols being overworked and having a comeback every 3 months or so on a regular basis, even because in the majority of times it can be rushed and therefore no good, especially if the comeback before was very successful. And even though I hate YG with all my heart, from a business point of view, I get their strategy and it's proven to be successful. This whole make the fan starve for more. However, it's starting to get really frustrating, especially now that we got basically zero promotions from Burn Pink after 2 fucking years. Like, that's where I drew the line, honestly. I mean, I am hating myself for getting to know Blackpink too late and for missing out the big amount of promotions that they did in the album era. I am kicking myself, honestly, but you know what? It's not my fault. It's fucking YG who at this point is not even hiding the fact that it's only interested in the money and doesn't give a shit about the fan base. This almost makes me sorry that I am gonna go to their concert and therefore that I'm gonna give a lot of money to YG. So yeah, this is for sure my least favorite thing about the group, even though it's not really their fault. And we could open a debate about this because not everyone agrees on this, but another time.
I'm on the next level, no more
aespa is the first group that I decided to stan after understanding that I needed more K-pop content in my life, and standing only Blackpink wouldn't have get me that without a shred of a doubt. My favorite thing about them is for sure their concept. I love when groups have like a storyline behind the group and there is a complex lore, because I find it to be very interesting and fun. Plus the whole each member has an avatar is pretty cool, let's admit it. I know that the girls cringe themselves during interviews when they have to literally pretend that these avatars really exist, but what can I say? You do what you have to do. And they're the only group that makes me enjoy experimental and messy music, so cheers to them. My least favorite thing about them is their lack of stage presence, but hear me out on this. I don't think that they don't have stage presence because they lack skills, because they have been trained for years to debut. Yes, of course, some idols are still bad at stage presence, because I also think that the attitude on stage is something that either you have or you don't, kind of. But I genuinely think that SM told them to like have this robot, emotionless presence, if that makes sense, which is also consistent with their concept. But of course the result is that seeing them performing is kind of underwhelming sometimes, especially when they don't have backup dancers, like their performance at the Mama, especially after the cool, iconic performance that ITZY had. It was just disappointing to say the least. I am sure that one of the reasons for this lack of stage presence is the fact that they always performed with no public. In fact, we can see a difference between the performances they have done when the restrictions were on and the one at Coachella, for example. Not that girls' performances at music shows were that different, if we're being completely honest, but let's whistle by this. Let's hope that SM will take different decisions about their performances in the future.
Keep you on your tippy toes.
I love XG so much. I don't care that they're not Korean. I consider them a K-pop group, especially after that they promoted Mascara in all the main Korean shows. The thing I love the most about them is their talent for sure. Like, this group is honestly something else. They dance like a dance crew, their vocals are out of this world and the most stable thing ever, and the rap too, like, these girls are really aces, all of them. Plus their songs slap. Tipitos is my favorite, honestly. It made me stand them right away. It's so laid back and chill, but at the same time it gives off this badass vibe. It was so good. And Mascara too, like, I really can't wait for their comeback and to see what they have in store for us. And I recommend to check out also their extra content like performances and stuff and their pre-debut material. XG has really the capacity to make me enjoy every type of content that they put out. My least favorite thing about them is probably the fact that they didn't sing in Japanese so far, but only in English, which, I mean, I would appreciate if they would throw in here and there some sentences in Japanese or even in Korean. I mean, whatever they want, as long as it's not only English. I get that they aim to be an international group, but now that K-pop is legitimized worldwide, I think it would be more unique to have some foreign lines, so I hope they'll change this in the next comebacks. My favorite thing about New Jeans is for sure their unique debut and the care and attention to detail that there is behind this group. Like, I eat up basically every content that they release, I'm not even kidding. I mean, I generally don't stand a group until it had at least a comeback, unless they are New Jeans and XG apparently. I mean, New Jeans with all their pre-debut material, like the MVs of Hype Boy alone, could be an aesthetic series about some teenagers, which I would binge watch, honestly. Plus, the fact of having 4 MVs for each member is so unique and creative. Then, what else? Their app, their round bag CD, their 2000 aesthetic. I mean, I am so curious to see what's coming next, and I am sure it's gonna slay and be trendsetting like their debut has been. They're a breath of fresh air in the K-pop scene, and I genuinely love everything about this group. Well, almost everything. What I don't like about this group is, yes, their young age, but that is simply because generally I don't stand young groups. Like, I don't really enjoy seeing young teenagers performing, but, well, they make an exception. I also don't like all the controversy surrounding them. I am really afraid that this was just the beginning and a lot of more dramas will come on their way. I only hope that girls will be safe and healthy and that they will not come out too much affected by this, honestly. You're surprised, aren't you? Well, what can I say? I am a girl group stan, but I have a soft spot for Stray Kids. I don't even know what it is, but this group amazes me every time. Their sound is really my style, they're all beautiful and talented, and they seem to have really cool personalities. Even though I am not the type of stan who watches variety shows or personal contents. But with them, I make an exception, because they're always fun to watch. I also really like that their songs can be super badass and hard-hitting, but also fun and bubbly, or a combination of the two, like their latest comeback, Case 143. And they deliver every fucking time. Plus, they produce, they write their own lyrics, they have 3 subunits, they produce and rap one, the dance one, and the vocals one. I mean, how cool is that? Plus, Felix's deep voice, Hyujin expressions. I mean, I don't know, man, they're just perfect. Probably my least favorite thing about them is that they are not a girl group. No, I'm joking. It's just that there is a reason if I'm a girl group stan. I find girl groups more aesthetically pleasing, like the choreos, the styling, the makeup, etc, etc. But yes, Stray Kids are a big exception, so they deserve a spot in this stan list, and they are the only boy group that had such an honor. Joking aside, maybe my least favorite thing is that I often don't like their B-sides. I don't know why, but their title tracks are always bops for me, but their B-sides, not so much. But honestly, I don't pay too attention to the B-sides in general, so I might have missed some really good songs. I am definitely convinced that I'm one of the 10 people who genuinely liked OO first listen. It wasn't enough to make me stan NMIXX right away, cause it was good, but it wasn't life changing, you know? Plus, as I said, I tend to not stan K-pop groups after a debut, but anyway, DICE officially made them enter in my stan list. I really loved it, and I talked about it in my DICE review. Go check it out if you haven't. My favorite thing about them, I don't really know, is probably that the girls are all super talented. They sing live, doing a really hard choreo while being in high heels. Do I have to add something else? True Queen's behavior. I also like the fact that mixing songs together is literally their concept. I find it interesting and fun. I also hope that we'll discover something more about their lore and that it will be well made. My least favorite thing about them is probably JYP. I don't trust the man. I am not super sure I'm gonna like everything they release, and I'm afraid that with some steps on the wrong directions, they could move very easily in my semi-stan section. But I mean, welcome to K-pop, right? Right. This is probably the group I have the most to say about, and the group who made me use the word semi-stan for the first time, cause it's the perfect word to describe my relationship with Everglow. So, I'm actually angry about this because Everglow have really the potential to be a youth for me, because my favorite thing about them is their music. When I discovered K-pop through Blackpink, I didn't pay a lot of attention to many groups, and I didn't follow every comeback and schedule as I do now, but Everglow was the second group after Blackpink that made me fall in love with K-pop. I listened to all their songs, even the B-sides, which is really not something that I do often, and I added everything to my playlist. Their genre, this heavy EDM dance sound, is really my style, and songs like Bonbon Chocolat and La Dida are just perfect in every way. But there are more than one thing that I don't really like about Everglow and that prevent me from standing them completely. The first thing is for sure the line distribution. I don't blame Mia, of course, line distribution is not something that she chooses, but yeah, I always hated when in groups with 5, 6 or even 9 members, there are some members who have 2 lines and others that sing basically the whole song. It really irritates me, guys, I have no idea, because it doesn't make sense at all. Why you have to debut an idol if you don't make him sing at all? And this issue is basically in every Everglow song. Mia gets 70% of the lines, Xion 30%, and the rest 0. All the fucking time. And this gets on my nerves, especially because my bias is Onda. I think she's really talented, and I don't know, she has something that makes me keep going back to her, So every time that I see that she has 2 lines, it's really frustrating. Plus, I have to say this, I don't really like how Mia performs. Don't get me wrong, she's very talented, but for me, it's nothing earth-shattering, It's not that her vocals are out of this world, or her dance making my jaw drop, you know what I mean? I generally think that she gets all the lines, because she's the one with the biggest stage presence in the group. But the thing is, I don't even like her stage presence that much, to be honest. I feel that she does always the same expression over and over, with that raised eyebrow that is honestly off-putting. I am sorry, it is for me, don't get mad at me, Mia Stan, please, that's just my opinion. Another thing about Everglow, which is connected to what I just said, is that I feel that the group overall lack in stage presence. They do better songs and they succeed in it, but I feel that their vibe and charisma are not strong as they should be. Finally, the last thing that I like the least about Everglow is that their 2 latest releases were quite a disappointment for me compared to the rest of their songs. After La Dida, I expected so much more, and I was really let down. First was a grower for sure, because I don't like the chorus, but with time, I appreciated more other parts of the song, which are really good. Plus the styling and the aesthetic were so good, so they kind of made up for it. But Parrot was a huge no for me, and I'm not gonna elaborate more because I'm already rattling. I'm really sorry because I feel that Everglow had the potential to be the queens of the 4th generation, but because of the terrible management of Yewa, they lost their chances. I just hope that Yiran returns from China, because it would be a big loss for the group, and that they do a grand comeback by releasing a total bop La Dida style. Please, Everglow, I need it, the world needs it. I still have faith in you. Please.
Baby, purple kiss
I loved Purple Kiss debut. Ponzona is a really cool song, but my favorite thing from them is probably their creepy and spooky concept and vibe. I found it really unique and they pull it off excellently. Plus, the members are all super talented. My least favorite thing about Purple Kiss is something that I already dealt with in another video of my channel. I'm gonna put it in the link in the description, so maybe you can check it out if you like. So yeah, basically I don't really like that they come out with this witch concept only for their two latest releases, and sometimes I've got the feeling that they don't really know which direction to take in terms of sound. They have established this creepy vibe for sure, but I don't think that the releases have been consistent so far. We'll see what will happen next and what they have in store for us. I am for sure really curious. So I got to know Tribe with Would You Run and I kind of became obsessed with them. I honestly don't even know why, because I generally don't stand Nugu younger groups, but Tribe is the exception. The thing I like the most about them is first their talent. Like, they generally give 100% of themselves in their performances, and I mean, they do dance practices in which they sing live with vocals stable as hell. I mean, who does that? And I also like their unique tribal sound. Like, even if they are rookies, they established from the beginning their sound, which is something that I really appreciate. My least favorite thing is actually that with their two latest releases, Would You Run and Kiss, I feel that they departed from the sound that they established to be a little bit more mainstream, which is a huge mistake in my opinion, because I think that nowadays it's really important to be unique and authentic in K-pop, because everyone is following trends and they care only about the numbers and not the music. Plus, they really deliver well that type of sound, so I hope that they will come back to their roots for their next comebacks. Okay, so this one is funny because I have never been interested in STAYC with their first releases because their music is not my cup of tea at all, but we'll get to that. I've becoming obsessed with them with Run to You, even though musically wise is the song I like the least from them, but honestly their visuals and aesthetic just struck me completely. We all know that K-pop is not just music, but there are a lot of other components, and in this case, I watch their performances constantly. I find their stages always so pretty, and I honestly need pretty things in my life. Plus, their vocals really mellow my ears. The downside of all of this is that, as I said, their music is not really my cup of tea. It's not bad, of course, otherwise I wouldn't even stand them a little bit. It's just that I like more heavy dance stuff, which is quite the opposite of what they release. But nevertheless, as I said, I am really drawn to STAYC. I don't know if it's a combination of their beautiful visuals, their styling, and overall aesthetic that makes me fly to the moon every time I watch them. I really hope to like their future songs more.
Yeah, I'm tomboy.
Okay, so the weird thing is that Soojin was my favorite member, even though I wasn't a G-Idol stan at all. And nevertheless, since Soojin left, so starting with Tomboy's era, I really like G-Idol more. I mean, I don't have to explain how Tomboy was a cultural reset and that everything, from the concept, the envy, the styling was perfect and so well thought. And I have really good vibes from the concept photos of their next comeback, Nude. I think this is how it's gonna be called. I mean, like a Marilyn Monroe concept. Hello. I am genuinely so excited, and if this comeback is gonna be as iconic as Tomboy, fuck it, I might as well stand them. My issue with that is just that before Soojin left, I always found their performances really mid and underwhelming. They had a great variety in concept and they released some cool bops for sure, but whenever I had to see them performing, I was like so bored, honestly. I am sorry, but the only one who stood out to me in terms of stage presence was Soyeon. Minnie and Soojin were in the middle, and the Shwawa, Miayeon, and Yuki were just bad. I am sorry, but they literally had the same expression over and over that it was just irritating to watch, honestly. But before you Neverlands destroy me in the comment section, their improvement shown in Tomboy is just crazy. I genuinely think that since Soojin were no longer a part of the group and all the controversy about her leaving, they were scared to be like cancelled, and they decided to give 100% and more of themselves, and well, it has been showed. Everything was better. Their attitude, their visuals, the styling, the self-confidence, their vocals. I mean, Yuki's raps in both Tomboy and My Bag, didn't see that coming. So yeah, if at first G-Idol was honestly one of the most unappealing group to me, now they're the one that I've been more keeping an eye on. So we'll see about this. I will go over this section real quickly. I'm keeping my eyes wide open because there are groups that I'm considering standing, but each of them has something that doesn't really convince me. IVE has a well-established sound and vibe that is so unique, and I honestly would stand them for Love Dive alone, because that song aged like fine wine and was a cultural reset. What doesn't convince me are the members. Don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on them, they're super talented, but for me a group has to have a sort of uniformity visual-wise and vibe-wise. I don't mean that they all have to be the same, of course, it's just that the members of IVE look members from different groups to me. I don't know, it's a feeling that I can't shake off of me, and I can clearly see a difference in Wonyoung and Ryujin stage presence, wise and overall persona. I don't know, and it's not because they have both been in IZ*ONE and not the others, because I don't have the same feeling when it comes to LE SSERAFIM, even though they too have two members that were in IZ*ONE. But in there is a coherence on how the members look. I don't know how to explain this honestly. Anyway, maybe it's just a feeling that will disappear very soon. We'll see. And we end this video with Pixie. Actually, Pixie was indeed in this 10 list until their latest comeback, Villain. So I'm not really a fan of horror concepts and sound, but what really impressed me of Pixie was their dark fairy tale concept. I already said that I have a soft spot for lores, and this one was honestly so cool. Like a group with fairies with no wings who find a pair of broken wings. That's really interesting, come on. Plus their sound was really unique and their choreos always on top. So yeah, this group had all my attention. Got me looking for attention. Okay, sorry. But yeah, all of this was until Villain. Villain was a step towards a completely different direction in terms of both sound and concept for Pixie. Because apparently the witches reborn into, I don't know what, they kind of lost me in there. But what really worries me is the fact that Moonbyul and Ella left the group quite abruptly. And, well, they were two really important members, and now I have no idea of what is gonna happen or what they're gonna release, you know. So I have to see their next release to understand more if I can continue standing them or not. That's a pity though, they had a lot of potential to be a super cool group. Okay, and this concludes our video. Congrats if you made it this far. I hope that I made this stand list more interesting for you. Please tell me your stand list or your opinions about what I said in the comment sections, and like and subscribe if you like this video. Remember to always be respectful, because these are my opinions only and everyone is entitled to their own. Okay guys, see you very soon. Bye!